Look who just walked in! Victoria, Sterling sneered, pointing at the young woman who had just stepped into the high-end boxing gym in the heart of Manhattan. Looks like someone wandered in from a rundown neighborhood gym. The sound of fists hitting heavy bags came to a sudden halt. Every eye turned toward Kesha Campbell, 18 years old, carrying a worn-out duffel bag, her feet in battered sneakers. Her dark brown skin stood out starkly in the pristine, white-lit facility, a place where the monthly fee equaled 3 months' worth of minimum wage. Victoria Sterling, reigning world female boxing champion 2 years running, was famous not just for her sledgehammer punches, but for her razor-sharp tongue. At 26, she'd built a brand on provocative interviews and viral trash talk videos, racking up millions of views. Her latest post had already hit 500,000 likes, a photo of her flexing with the caption, "When you're born superior, you don't need to pretend we're equal." "Sorry," Kesha said softly, eyes glued to her cracked phone screen as she double-checked the address. "I thought this was the youth scholarship program." Victoria's laugh rang out through the gym like a siren. "Scholarship? Oh, sweetheart, this isn't some community outreach project. We train real athletes here, not social experiments." Keisha had only been in the US for 6 months, carrying with her the dreams of an entire Jamaican family who scraped together every cent to give her a shot at a better life. She worked 16-hour days cleaning offices just to afford a cramped room in the Bronx she shared with 3 strangers. This scholarship program was her one shot at training somewhere that wasn't falling apart. "The program's real," a firm voice cut through the silence. Coach Tom Rodriguez, the veteran trainer and owner of the gym, stepped out of his office holding a folder. "And Kesha Campbell is on the approved list." Victoria rolled her eyes dramatically. "Seriously, Tom? You turning my gym into a charity case? Now I doubt my sponsors are going to love that. They pay for results, not your opinion on who deserves to train here," Tom replied bluntly. But Victoria wasn't finished. She strode toward Keisha, a half-smile curling on her lips, the kind that felt more like a threat than a welcome. "You know what she said," circling the newcomer. "If you're so desperate to train with the pros, how about we see if you belong?" The gym fell dead silent. Everyone knew what was coming: friendly sparring. Victoria continued enunciating every word like venom. "You and me, 3 rounds. If you last, you stay. If not..." She flicked her hand dismissively as if swatting away a fly. Keisha could feel the weight of dozens of eyes bearing down on her. She knew exactly what this was: a trap, a public humiliation designed to crush her spirit before she even had a chance to begin. But in her eyes there was something that made Victoria falter for just a split second. A flicker of defiance, a fire that refused to die. "I accept," Keisha said calmly. Victoria frowned, waiting for tears. Or at the very least, a desperate plea. "You sure?" she growled. "Because after this you're going to ask yourself if the dream was ever worth it." "I'm sure," Keisha repeated. And for the first time since walking through those doors, she smiled. A thin, quiet smile, but loaded with meaning. What Victoria Sterling didn't know was that in the slums of Kingston, Jamaica, people didn't call Kesha Campbell by her birth name. They called her Lightning. And like all lightning, her true power only appeared when the storm came. While Victoria was too busy planning her next viral humiliation clip, Coach Tom Rodriguez was focused on something else entirely: Kesha's eyes. Steady, sharp, unblinking. It sent a chill down his spine. That look, he'd only seen it in the rarest of fighters. The ones who hid terrifying potential behind fragile exteriors. If this story is stirring something inside you, stay tuned, because what happened in the next 3 rounds would shatter every expectation. And leave the world asking one impossible question. How did an unknown girl from the Bronx rewrite the rules of a sport long ruled by the elite? Word of the friendly sparring match spread through the gym like wildfire. Within an hour, fighters, coaches, and even a few sports journalists had gathered to watch. What began as a casual exchange suddenly morphed into a brutal form of entertainment. The internet couldn't resist a showdown between Victoria Sterling, the reigning world champion, and an unknown Jamaican girl. 3 rounds, 16-ounce gloves, no betting, no live streams. "Just sparring," Coach Tom Rodriguez announced, trying to ease the tension thick in the air, the kind that settles right before a slaughter. Victoria let out a laugh. "Relax, Tom. This'll be quick. Might not even last the first round." She pulled out her phone, filming a story for her 2 million followers. "You guys won't believe this. Some random girl walked in here today and wants to fight me. I'm about to teach her a lesson in humility she'll never forget." The comments came flooding in. "Wreck her, Victoria." These people need to know their place. Show her who the real queen is. While Victoria basked in the attention, Kesha quietly slipped into the locker room. Her hands weren't shaking. They never did before a fight, but her heart was pounding. Not from fear, from fury tightly coiled beneath old scars and memories she had spent years trying to bury. Tom followed her in. "Kesha, you don't have to do this," he said. "I know how much the scholarship means, but it's not worth getting hurt over that woman's ego." "I won't get hurt," Kesha replied flatly, tightening the straps on the borrowed gloves. "She's a two-time world champion, Kesha. She's got professional technique, knockout power, years of experience. And you..." Kesha cut him off, locking eyes with him. "I have something she'll never have." Tom frowned. "What's that hunger?" The word echoed through the small, bare locker room. In over 30 years of training hundreds of fighters, Tom Rodriguez had rarely heard that word spoken with such conviction. But in Kesha's eyes, he saw something only the truest predators in the ring possessed, a raw, unshakable survival instinct. He sat down beside her. "Be honest with me, kid," Tom said. "Why did you accept the challenge? Why not just ignore her?" Kesha closed her eyes for a moment. Memories crashed back like waves, the dusty streets of Kingston, her mother screaming at her not to get into another fight, the sharp sting of a fist hitting flesh, slicing through the air like a blade, the name Lightning whispered in fear and respect. "Because I've lived this story before," she said quietly. "People like Victoria think they can step on girls like me with their words, their smug looks, their belief that we're beneath them. But they always forget one thing." "What's that?" "When you grow up fighting just to survive, you don't fight for sport. You fight like your life depends on it." Tom shivered. There was something almost prophetic in the way she spoke, like she wasn't just revealing her motivation. She was foretelling Victoria Sterling's fate. Across the gym, Victoria was still putting on a show for the camera. "Check out those shoes," she sneered, pointing at the worn-out sneakers Kesha had left behind in the locker room. "Bet she's never even stepped foot in a real ring. Probably learned boxing from YouTube." The gym erupted in laughter, but not everyone joined in. A few seasoned fighters remained silent. There was something in the way Kesha stood, in how she'd accepted the challenge without a flicker of hesitation, that stirred a primal sense of caution in them. Marcus Williams, a former middleweight champion, leaned over to his sparring partner and muttered, "I don't know, man. I've seen that kind of calm before. The quiet ones. They're usually the most dangerous." But Victoria was far too busy basking in her own ego to notice the warning signs. "You know what's wrong with these third-world countries?" she continued, speaking into the camera. "They confuse desperation with skill. Think that just because they've had a rough life, it automatically makes them fighters." Just then, Kesha stepped out of the locker room. Simple gym shorts, a plain tank top, and arms so toned, so sculpted it was almost unsettling for someone who supposedly had no formal training. Her walk was fluid, precise, like a panther circling before the strike. "Ready for your lesson," Victoria taunted. "Always," Kesha replied coolly. What Victoria Sterling didn't know and couldn't possibly imagine was that Lightning Campbell had been fighting since she was 8 years old on the streets of Kingston. Not out of passion, out of necessity, because if she didn't fight, she and her mother didn't eat. By 12, she was beating boys 3 years older in underground matches to keep the family afloat. By 16, she was a living legend in the slums, not for brutality, but for her freakish ability to read punches and counter them with lightning speed precision. And that name, Lightning, wasn't just a nickname, it was a warning. When she got her visa to the US, she swore never to set foot in the ring again. But some promises are made to be broken, especially when your dignity is spit on. Tom tightened the gloves around her wrists, and something made him pause. Her hands were completely relaxed, but her muscles coiled like steel wires, dense, controlled, like someone who had trained her whole life. "Kesha, be straight with me," Tom said slowly. "You've never fought before, have you?" Kesha smiled, the first smile since she stepped into the gym, soft, unreadable, but with an undercurrent powerful enough to shift fate. "How do you define fought?" Across the room, Victoria kept performing for TikTok. But one by one, eyes began to drift away from her and toward the quiet storm that was just beginning to gather. While Victoria Sterling kept putting on a show for her millions of followers online, something entirely different was unfolding in the far corner of the gym. Tom Rodriguez, a man known for caution and discipline, felt something stir deep in his chest. 3 decades of coaching had taught him one truth: real power never shouts, it whispers. And Kesha Campbell, this unknown girl, was whispering something the whole world was about to hear. Kesha, Tom called out as she finished her warm-up. "Show me a few basic moves, will you? Just to get a sense of your level." Kesha nodded without saying a word. She stepped onto the mat like an artist walking onto a stage, no flair, no arrogance, just a quiet claim to the space as if it had always been hers. For the next 5 minutes, everything Tom thought he knew about boxing was quietly challenged. Kesha moved around the ring with impossible grace. It wasn't walking, it was gliding. Her punches landed on the bag with surgical precision, not brute force, but pinpoint impact. Each strike felt pre-calculated, like she had studied this moment 1,000 times. "Dear God," Tom murmured under his breath. "Who is this girl really?" Just then the gym door creaked open. A middle-aged man stepped in. His hands were marked with old scars, his eyes cold and weathered with time. And when Kesha spotted him, she froze. Her hardened expression cracked, replaced by a sudden jolt of fear. "Winston Campbell," she whispered. "Lightning," the man said softly. The name cracked through the silence like thunder on a clear day. Some of the older fighters furrowed their brows, trying to recall where they'd heard that name before. "Uncle Winston." "What are you doing here?" Kesha asked, her voice for the first time tinged with unease. "Your cousin called me," he replied, his thick Jamaican accent sharp and heavy. "Told me you were losing your damn mind, so I caught a flight from Miami to see for myself." He crossed his arms. "I thought we agreed those days were behind us." Tom stepped forward, suspicion in his eyes. "Your family?" he asked cautiously. Winston glanced at him, measuring how much truth he should reveal. "I've known this girl since she was 8, he said slowly. "And let me tell you something, Coach Victoria Sterling has no idea what she's walking into." While the conversation unfolded on one side of the gym, Victoria was still filming TikToks in the opposite corner, continuing her mockery. "Look at this, y'all," she whispered into the camera, smirking. She even brought family to witness her humiliation. "How cute! At least someone will be there to hold her when she starts crying after the fight." Comments flooded in. "Victoria's gonna crush that chick. This is why you don't mess with Americans. High-quality entertainment incoming." Winston glanced at her for a few seconds, then turned away, shaking his head with thinly veiled contempt. "Arrogance," he muttered. "People like her Lightnings dealt with them plenty in Kingston. And you know what? She taught them a lesson with her fists and with her dignity." "Uncle," "Please," Kesha whispered, eyes still fixed on the floor. "I don't want anyone to know." "Know what?" Tom asked, frowning. Winston sighed. "Tom, that's your name, right? Mind if I call you that? You seem like a decent man, so I'm going to say something that might make you see this whole fight in a completely different light." He gestured toward Kesha, who was silently practicing her footwork in the far corner of the mat. "That girl right there was once known as the fiercest street fighter Kingston ever produced." "Street fighter," Tom echoed. "At 12, she was beating men 3 times her size in underground matches. By 15, her name alone made gangs think twice." Lightning Campbell wasn't just a nickname, it was a warning. Winston paused for a beat. She stopped fighting after she got her visa to the States, made a promise to herself to start over. But when you're humiliated for your skin, your past, your roots, no promise in the world can keep the fire from rising in your blood. Tom stared at Kesha with entirely new eyes. Then, "Why'd she accept Victoria's challenge?" Winston gave a sad smile. "Because people often mistake kindness for weakness." "But Lightning," he shook his head. "She's never let anyone define her worth by gender, skin color, or where she comes from." Across the room, Victoria had just wrapped her final story and was now on the phone with her manager. "Michael, this is gonna blow up huge. World champ versus an amateur. This is the kind of content sponsors go crazy for. Total domination." Over the speakerphone, Michael's voice rang out. "Just don't hurt her too badly, Victoria. I don't want any lawsuits over injuries." Victoria burst out laughing. "Michael, relax. This'll be over so fast she won't even have time to feel the pain." Winston, who had caught the conversation, narrowed his eyes. "Tommy said seriously, let me give you one piece of advice. Put your faith in Lightning." "Why?" Tom asked. "Because Victoria Sterling may be a champion, but she's never had to fight to survive. She's never learned what it means to lose and go hungry. Lightning isn't here for show. She's here to deliver a message. Just then, Kesha walked over, her forehead glistening with sweat from warm-ups. Uncle Winston, what are you saying to Coach Tom? Just the truth, sweetheart. That you're not some fragile victim like people assume. You're a fighter, you're lightning. Kesha looked around the gym. A few fighters had started pausing their routines, glancing over at her. Not with mockery this time, but with curiosity. And a hint of caution. I don't want, she said quietly. Don't want what Winston asked. Don't want them to see who I really am. You've spent months scrubbing toilets just to start over, Winston said, voice low but steady. But when someone tries to humiliate you for your skin, your roots, there's no clean slate that can scrub the fire from your blood. Tom shivered slightly at his words. Kesha, he asked gently, I mean it. Why did you really accept this fight? Kesha stayed silent for a long moment. Her eyes fixed on Victoria, still recording videos promoting herself like she'd already won. When she finally spoke, her voice was low and razor-sharp. Because people like Victoria Sterling think they can bury us, humiliate us, define our worth by the color of our skin and the weight of our past. She paused. She looks at me and sees some poor little girl, a joke for her fans to laugh at. But what she doesn't know... Kesha smiled, not a sweet smile, but the kind you see just before a storm hits. The smile of someone about to strike. Where I come from, respect isn't handed out. You earn it. And sometimes lightning has to remind people why storms are feared. The day of the fight, Highland Arena was packed to the rafters. Tickets had sold out 4 days earlier after Victoria Sterling posted her viral video challenging the nameless black janitor girl to a match. Crowds poured in from all over, not just for the name Victoria, but for what was now dubbed the greatest joke in women's boxing history. Inside the locker room, Kesha Campbell sat alone. Her robe was plain, no sponsor patches, no flashy logos, no media team, no flashing cameras, just Winston, her uncle, standing behind her, tightening the gloves on the niece he once thought would never step into a ring again. Ready, Lightning? Winston asked quietly. She nodded. Aren't you scared? I am, Kesha replied softly. But what scares me more is letting her win at defining who I am. Meanwhile, across the hallway in the opposing locker room, Victoria Sterling was having her lipstick reapplied by a makeup artist. Her manager, Michael, chattered excitedly to a cluster of reporters. Victoria's gonna end this in round 1. I mean, let's be real, this is a charity match. We're just giving the poor a little bit of spotlight. A PR move with heart, you could say. Laughter erupted from her crew. A photographer nudged Victoria's arm. Don't hit her too hard, that girl's still got floors to mop after this. Victoria threw her head back and laughed. Don't worry, I'll make sure she's carried out on a stretcher, as gently as possible. Inside the ring. As the entrance music blared, Victoria strutted into the spotlight, a rhinestone-studded robe flowing behind her, both arms raised high. The lights beamed directly onto her smug face as the crowd erupted, introducing the undefeated middleweight champion of the world, Victor Sterling. She threw a flashy air punch toward the camera, then kissed her gloves like she was about to put down a helpless creature. A minute later, the lights dimmed to a quiet, cool blue. Kesha stepped out. No cheers, no fans, no applause, just the sound of her footsteps echoing through the arena, cutting through a wave of mocking laughter and whispers. Who is that? Oh, it's the cleaning lady. Look at her wearing those cheap-ass shoes. The TV commentators didn't hesitate to throw fuel on the fire. This has to be one of the most lopsided matches I've ever seen. A world champion going up against an amateur janitor. We were promised a fun fight, and hey, it's already looking like a good laugh. Kesha climbed into the ring. Her eyes locked onto Victoria's. No fear, no hesitation. Just silence, calm, and perhaps a flicker of pity. You should have withdrawn the invitation, she said softly, as they stepped to the center of the ring for the ref's instructions. Oh, look, the toilet girl speaks, Victoria sneered. Enjoy your last 3 minutes of fame, sweetheart. Round 1. The bell rang. Victoria charged forward immediately. She threw a left hook. Kesha dodged. A straight right missed again. The crowd erupted in cheers, assuming Victoria was just toying with the underdog. But those watching closely, like Tom Rodriguez on the live stream, saw something different. She's not dodging wildly, he muttered. She's reading her breathing, anticipating movement, maintaining perfect distance. Winston stood at ringside, silent eyes locked on the ring like they might explode with intensity. Victoria, slightly thrown off, paused for a beat, then launched a flurry right-left hook. Kesha took one step back, every punch missed by mere inches. The crowd stood around too. Victoria frowned. Something felt off. Her arms ached slightly. Her heartbeat was skipping not from fear, but from the sheer energy she was burning chasing a target. That never got hit. Then, in a brief moment, Kesha snapped a quick jab to Victoria's shoulder. Not hard, but it landed. The crowd gasped. She hit her. Victoria's temper flared. For the first time, truly, she felt challenged. She growled and charged like a wounded lioness, but that was exactly when Kesha spun, pivoted right, pushed off her back foot, and slammed a left hook into Victoria's ribs. Thud. Victoria buckled for a split second, not from pain, but from shock. The referee began to count. 1, 2. Victoria sprang to her feet, jaw clenched, trying to act like nothing happened. But deep down, she had never imagined she'd be the one getting counted in a match she designed as a joke. Round 3. The crowd began to shift. Half still chanted for Victoria. The other half started shouting the name no one had known until tonight. Campbell, Campbell, Campbell. Michael, Victoria's manager, blurted out, "Unbelievable. That girl's controlling the ring." On the live stream, millions who had tuned in for laughs were now stunned. Who is this chick? I thought this was a charity fight. Holy crap, Victoria might actually lose. Kesha's next punch landed clean across Victoria's jaw, snapping her head sideways and forcing her to stagger. Victoria stumbled back, gasping. Kesha didn't rush in. She walked forward slowly like a predator hunting. She locked eyes with Victoria and said calmly, "Now tell me, what do you see in me? A janitor or a real fighter?" Victoria Sterling was no longer the icy, flawless queen of boxing from magazine covers. In the ring, she was panting, her hair in disarray, lipstick smudged, wide eyes filled with panic. She wasn't fighting for fame anymore. She was fighting not to be humiliated. The audience had gone silent. The entire Highland Arena seemed to hold its breath. The bell rang. Round 4 began. For the first time in 9 undefeated years, Victoria Sterling didn't charge forward. She hesitated. She looked at her opponent, Kesha, with the eyes of someone no longer sure who she was. Standing before her wasn't a poor cleaning girl anymore. It was a warrior controlling the ring with poised discipline and eyes that seemed to read every motion before it happened. The decisive strike. Kesha knew she didn't need to win by points. She didn't need a brutal knockout. All she needed was to prove to the world and to herself that she was not beneath anyone. As Victoria threw a weak jab to the left, Kesha stepped back, angled her body, rotated her hips, and then boom. An uppercut right hook caught Victoria square on the chin, landing with just enough force to stun the entire arena. Victoria collapsed. This time she didn't pop up immediately. The referee rushed in. 1, 2, 3. Victoria crawled up on her knees at the count of 7. Her vision was foggy. But on instinct, she stood, gloves still raised. The crowd exploded, but not for their queen anymore. Kesha, Kesha, Kesha. They weren't mocking the janitor anymore. Now they were cheering, admiring. The end of the match. After round 5, the referee called the fight, declaring Victoria unfit to defend herself. The final bell rang. The winner, Kesha Campbell. In that moment, the whole arena erupted. But Kesha didn't celebrate. She didn't throw her fists in the air. She didn't scream in victory. She simply bowed her head, exhaled softly, and turned to walk away. She didn't need the spotlight. She didn't crave the glory. Because to her, the real fight had ended long before the first bell rang. Post-fight press conference. Victoria Sterling sat at the podium, head bandaged, hands trembling slightly, her eyes red and swollen. No makeup, no smug smile, just silence. A reporter asked Victoria, "Do you have anything to say about today's match?" She sat quietly for a moment, then gave a slight nod. "I was wrong. I underestimated her. I thought this was a joke, but she's a real fighter, a champion, with or without a title." Another reporter jumped in. "Will there be a rematch?" Victoria gave a faint laugh and shook her head. "I'm not sure I have the courage." The walk home. Kesha left the arena, quietly walking beside Uncle Winston. No one blocked their way. No paparazzi, no journalists. Just a little girl, maybe 9 years old, ran up and handed Kesha a blank piece of paper. "Can you sign this for me? I want a box like you someday." Kesha looked at the girl, big round eyes, brown skin, curly hair. She smiled softly and signed it Kesha, Lightning Campbell. The little girl squealed and ran off to show her friends. Kesha just stood still, because for the first time after all the years of washing dishes, mopping floors, and living under judgment, she felt like she mattered. The Monday after a video clip went viral, over 27 million views in 24 hours. It was the moment Kesha landed that right hook that rocked the entire boxing world. Headlines exploded. Cleaning lady drops undefeated champ from janitor to ring hero Kesha Campbell, the lightning bolt who shook the sports world. And then, the knock on the door. That evening, as Kesha sat in her small kitchen sipping ginger tea with Winston, there was a knock at the door. A woman in her 40s stood outside wearing glasses and a badge, Madison Cole, director of Sports American Combat Federation. Ms. Campbell, I'm here on behalf of the Federation. We're ashamed that we once rejected your application 3 years ago, citing lack of potential. Kesha looked up, and now, I'd like to formally invite you to become a professional middleweight fighter, full sponsorship, all in. Winston nearly dropped his teacup. Kesha raised an eyebrow. Why now? After I've already won. Madison nodded. Because now the whole world sees you. But I believe, even when no one was watching, you were already a champion. Kesha sat quietly for a long moment, then turned to Winston. I told you I'd only fight one match. Winston smiled gently. You did. But the light you lit tonight, it's gonna help a lot of others find their way. 6 months later, New York City, the ESPN Most Inspirational Sports Icon of the Year ceremony. The host, a well-known Latino MC, stood under brilliant stage lights and spoke with gravity and admiration. She once mopped the floors of this very arena. She was looked down on, rejected, mocked for being poor, for her skin color, for where she came from. But she never gave up. And today, she's made the whole world listen. Please welcome Kesha Lightning Campbell. The entire audience, more than 2,000 people, rose in thunderous applause. Kesha stepped onto the stage. Her curls framed her face naturally. She wore a simple black dress, no flashy makeup, no fake spotlight glow. Only one thing radiated clearly, a sincere smile. The speech that shook the room. Kesha stood center stage. Her eyes scanned the crowd, spotting Winston, the neighbor who once lent her gloves, the little girl who asked for an autograph, and even Victoria Sterling. Yes, Victoria sat in the front row, but her eyes weren't proud. This time they held genuine respect. Kesha took a deep breath and began, I didn't grow up in a boxing gym. I grew up in a kitchen where my mom had to split one piece of bread because we couldn't afford dinner. I've done every kind of work, washing dishes, scrubbing toilets, even mopping up blood from the ring after fighters left. They never knew my name, but I remembered all of them, because every punch they threw taught me something. Not about revenge, but about resilience. She paused, eyes glistening with emotion. I was rejected for not being good enough. But the truth is, I wasn't the right skin color, wasn't the right gender, wasn't from the right background. And I know, there are thousands of people out there just like me. I'm not a miracle. I'm just living proof that if you dare to stand up, you can make the world stop and listen, not because you're perfect, but because you're real. The entire hall fell silent. Then a wave of thunderous applause erupted. In the VIP section, a film producer leaned toward his assistant and whispered, We need to make a movie about her. This is the story America's been waiting for. 1 week later, inside a small gym in Brooklyn, Kesha wasn't training alone anymore. She was now coaching a group of black teenage girls. One had been expelled from school for fighting, another had just escaped a gang, and there was even a deaf girl learning how to punch by following flashes of light. Winston sat in the corner of the room watching each jab with eyes full of pride. He turned to a photographer beside him and said quietly, She's not just a fighter, she's a light. When the world gets dark, just seeing that light, it reminds people they're not alone. On television, Victoria Sterling appeared on a major talk show. The host leaned in and asked, You were once a champion, now you're a coach. What changed in you? Victoria gave a soft smile. The day Kesha beat me, I thought it was the end. But it wasn't, it was the beginning. She showed me that titles don't define a person. It's how you handle failure, That tells the world who you really are. On the streets, a giant graffiti mural appeared on a brick wall in South Bronx's poorest neighborhood. It showed Kesha fist raised with glowing wings behind her. Beneath the image, a message was spray painted in bold. It's not the strongest who win, it's the ones who never give up. Signed, the kids from the block. Final words of the film. The last scene shows Kesha riding her bike through her old neighborhood, grinning wide earbuds and bumping to her favorite reggae tune. On screen, a final message fades in Kesha, lightning. Campbell never went back to mopping floors in the ring, but she's still cleaning not with a mop, but with courage, helping others wipe away the stains of prejudice and rise again. Black screen. White text fades in based on a true story. Every year, thousands of women of color are pushed out of professional sports, not because of skill, but because of prejudice. Yet there's one thing no one can take from them, their will and their fire. Believe in what no one else does, even when that no one is you. The end.